Hi guys, welcome to my channel if you're new. Welcome back if you're one of my subscribers. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. So, if you're not familiar with my 370Z build, I am doing a Whipple supercharger install. Today I am doing the dreaded upgrade to the fuel pump, which is right here. I have the instructions on my phone, so I'm going to try to record each part of it. Do this at your own risk. I'm not a professional mechanic. I'm just following instructions and hoping for the best. So far, I've been doing an alright job. So, anyways, I'm going to try to record each step. I apologize if I miss a little bit. I'll try to put notes or whatever if I miss something. I will also put a link to the instructions that I used for the install. However, this is very dangerous because I am exposing fuel to the open air, the fumes from your gas tank. The instructions say to have it at least at 1/8 of a tank or less. I actually am at half a tank, but I've talked to some other mechanics and they said it should be fine, so cross my fingers. But I just want to show you the prep I did first, that way you have an idea. So this is my 370Z. It is a bit dirty because it's been sitting in my garage for probably a month now. But so the prep work in the inside is I have this big black trash bag that covers this whole area, some towels, a bucket to put the fuel pump in so I can carry it out of the car, more towels. Right here is where it's gonna go. There's matting that's covering the fuel pump right here, so I'm gonna have to pull that out. So this is gonna be the fun. I'm gonna try to put a different camera up here to face down towards it and figure that camera out real quick, that way I can record this. But again, apologize if it's not the best. It's just kind of a little bit scary on my part because I've never done this before and it's high risk. So give me a little bit. Alright, so this mat was stuffed up underneath. This was stuffed up underneath the over the fuel pump, which this was just pushed up in there like so. The actual door, if I can show you, this actual door is real easy. You just pull forward really hard and it doesn't damage it. It just pops forward and then you just pull it right out. Make sure you draw an arrow so you know what parts to the front. Do that both on this piece as well as on the cover. That way it's protected. It looks like in order for me to actually get the fuel pump out, I'm going to have to take this interior piece out, which I wasn't looking forward to having to do. So if you give me a little bit, I have a little bit more interior to pull out. It looks like it has a bunch of push clips, and then hopefully it'll just pop right out. It's just like the center cover piece. We'll find out. Try not to damage my interior in this process. So give me a little bit because it looks like I'm going to have to pull this other side out as well in order to get this out properly. I was trying not to do that, but it looks like I'm going to have to. Alright, as I continue my prep, I just wanted to show you what a pain. So basically, I have to take this piece out in order to get to it. If you have the normal coupe, I don't know if that's there or not, but for the Roadster it is, and I have to remove that in order to get to the fuel pump. In order to do that, I have to remove this piece right here, which is real easy. It just pulls right up. Pulls right up, comes right out. So it's really easy to do. I'm just gonna sit it here in the garage floor so it doesn't get damaged. This is the hard part. You have a bolt here, right? So once you take this out, this whole piece, which I did over there on that side, this whole piece just pulls right out. It's just a bunch of push clips in the inside. Just gonna kind of slowly pry this out. Then behind this there is a few pull clips. There's 2 of them. You just like the little pop clips, you pop them out, and then this will come right off. So it's just gonna take me a minute. I just want to show you that this is easiest to unbolt it, to move this out of the way, so this comes right off. This stripping just pulls right out, so just kind of gets out of the way. So yep, fun times, tons of work. All right, as you can see, it's just a bunch of push tabs to pull it out. The only thing you got to do is you just got to squeeze in right here to just remove the speaker. That way you can access it and pull this right out, and obviously move this out of the way. All right, just for a fuel pump. So you have your driver's side fuel pump, which we're not touching, and you have the passenger side fuel pump, which is the one we're replacing. So that was a pain. The door pieces, the covers. Also, like I said, mark passenger and which way aims to the front, as well as driver. Then that's the centerpiece, which was kind of a pain because I had to unscrew 2 screws right here, which you can't really see, but there's a screw right in here that you have to remove on both sides. That way this center console can lift up, and that way you can slide it up over it. So that's it for now. Time for the fun stuff. Hopefully the lighting is okay. I'm gonna do the other camera now, so give me a little bit. All right, so my garage door is open. I have eye protection. Battery is disconnected. Again, don't try this at home unless you know what you're doing. Do this at your own risk. I'm not a professional mechanic. So I'm gonna probably fast forward the rest of this as I do this. There's 10mm bolts that you need to remove. Then there's 8mm bolts that you need to remove, and then you have to pull it slightly up. Oh, I'm sorry. So there's 4 10mm bolts. You remove those. There's a lid. Mark the front, which way the front is. I have a marker. Once you mark the front of it, then lift it off and move it aside. There's a connection that's under pressure. You need to make sure that you basically have towels ready to catch all the excess fuel that's gonna pop out of it. I have eye protection. I have a face mask in case the fumes get too bad, because I just don't want to smell gas that bad. Then there's an inside. Once you disconnect that, there's 4 more bolts that are the 8mm. You disconnect those, and it's going to pop up slightly, about 1/2 inch. And then as you slide that up, you're going to have to remove the O-ring or leave it. You just don't want fuel on it at all, so you don't want to take that chance. So it says, the instructions say to remove it. Then there's a hose connect that inside on the fuel pump that you disconnect. It's basically where the fuel's getting sucked in, your fuel line. Basically, you're disconnecting it from the pump. Then you pull the rest of it out, being really careful not to catch the floater that tells you the fuel level. You don't want that to get damaged. And I guess the edges of the fuel pump, like the edges of the fuel tank, are really sharp. So keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead and start doing this. So enjoy the view of me screwing up. So there's actually 6 8mm bolts. They look like screw heads. As you saw, I disconnected the power connection to the pump. Then there's the fuel hose that's connected to the top of it that you have to disconnect. That's the part that is under pressure, so fuel can come out of it. So that's why you have to do this. Alright, so I've been actually doing a lot. I apologize, I missed a few steps. If you just follow the instructions that are in the link below in the video description, it'll make it a lot easier than me trying to show you all of this. It's basically you have to disconnect a lot of intricate parts. So it's a pain. Basically, you have this in here. These slide into the sides like so. There's a pin, a lock pin that holds this side. You just pop it out. All of these, you disconnect all the wires. You slide this. This is clipped. Where is it? So this right here was clipped on the side right here. You just pop that out, and then you disconnect all of these off the top. Make sure you take a picture of all of it, that way you know where everything goes to go back. But it tells you. So I just want to show you what I did. So far the battery's about to die, so that's the other reason why I didn't record all of this. So give me a minute and I'll show you the rest here in a second. Alright, so the next steps, mind you, it really smells like gasoline, so that's why I have the surgical mask. That way it kind of dampens that smell a little bit. Set this over here. So you have all of this lovely stuff. The filter that's dirty as hell. Yeah. So I'm just reading the steps as I go, because like I said, I don't really know what I'm doing. Just following the steps. I made sure I drained all of the fuel out of this first into a bucket.
Take me in smoke, breathe me in and let me go. Filling the lungs in.
Alright, so Bobby included this from, it's in the fuel injector box, and this is the CJM one that you're going to use. You're not going to obviously use, you're not going to use this from the AE one. So you have to cut this and remove this, cut this out of the way. But you cut this so that way you can get this out of the way. Look how nasty this fuel filter is. This is obviously the old fuel pump and all that. We're gonna get the new one here in a second. I just gotta snip all this away. So give me a little bit. Alright, so inside here, in order to fit the new pump, you have to break out all the old plastic that was in there. Break that all out of the way so that way the new pump can slide in. Put this around it and then insert this. You can do it before or after. I did it before. And then you just slide it in. Obviously the new hoses and everything else that it came with, you have to hook those up and tighten them down. Apologize for the noise, I do have the garage door open, so I just want to show you real quick. The next thing I'm going to have to do, reading the instructions, is this lovely piece right here, I believe. I have to read it, but basically the, what do they call it, pressure relief valve, I'm going to have to drill that out wider. I got this lovely set. This is a 332 to start with. This basically prevents the fuel pressure, relieves it. I got one of these on the end to basically so I don't drill too deep. I'm gonna have to figure that out in a minute. I just want to show you kind of how to get the pump in and go to the next step. Right, so one of the things that you have to do is you have to push this out from the inside, and because you're putting a bigger fuel pump, this is the fuel pressure regulator on the stock one, so you need to drill this little itty bitty See if it'll show up. Sorry if the camera's not auto-focusing. There we go. So this nipple, you have to drill that out wider. That way it'll work for your higher flow, because you want more flow than what this regulator is giving. So that was why I had the drill bit, so I don't go too deep, so I don't drill all the way through it. I got the stop, that way it'll stop. Plus it'll help me line it up better with it. So this is the part that's kind of scary to me. I'm working near something that had fuel in it. So hopefully my whole house doesn't catch on fire as I'm doing this. I'm really scared of doing this, but I kind of need to. So like I said, I made sure I lined it up so it won't go all the way through. I'm going to go slow. That way it stays even. It's the other thing, you want to make sure that you go directly in. It's kind of scary. Like I'm afraid to do this. All right, there it is. So let me unplug this. Let me make sure this goes all the way through. Disconnect this thing right here, which is the wrench. I basically want to make sure that this actually goes all the way through. Because I don't know if I went deep enough. Yeah, it looks like it goes all the way in. So it's good. So that part is done. Set that stuff to the side, deal with it later. So now that you have that opened up, sorry if the camera is not doing the best job, but basically open this up and it bores it out more. So push that back in. Now to reassemble everything. So the next part is going to be the fun part. Is basically not only do I have to connect this tubing, I have to wire this, which the wiring is here. And as you can see, the original pump had these T-fittings on the end of it. And the new one just has a positive and negative. So I have to splice these two together, make sure it's nice and sealed, and that way I can use this same lines. That way it'll be easier to T-fit in. So I'm going to do that here in a minute. So give me a little bit and I'll get back to you. I just want to show you that this is going to go here, and then it's going to screw down. I'm going to do that now, and then I'm going to worry about the wiring. Alright, so I used a little bit of heat. I have a heat gun to heat this up to be able to slide that on, so it is no longer going to go anywhere. Screwed these in, so it's not going anywhere. Next thing I did was I soldered the wires together using line crimps and that, and use some heat shrink over it so there's no way the fuel or anything will ever get into it. So positive, negative. So I need to hook this back all back together. So the fun begins. This took a while. the first time, plus I need to look at the pictures to know what line goes where. So this will be entertaining to say the least, but you get the idea. Slide this in. And I guess I'll speed this part up.
This is the emergency broadcast system.
Time to put it back in. Alright, so I had to reach in, be very careful not to hit the edges. I put gloves on and I kept my sleeve down and barely grabbed. That's why you don't want a big full tank, because I grabbed the fuel line that you disconnected and reconnected it to this and very carefully sit it in there. So I have it sitting there right now. I'm going to dry around the edges of it, because what I'm about to do is I'm going to go ahead and install the ring, the O-ring that you do not want to get fuel on at all. So I want to make sure this whole area was dry, which it looks like it already is. Alright, so everything is now all tucked in. And now I just need to hook the battery up and do the lovely start the car. So apparently it did start. Alright, so there you have it. Upgraded the fuel pump and it's working. So please don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and check out my other videos. And hopefully follow this build. And let me know what you think in the comments below. Did I do an alright job? Bye.